At just under 7,000 metres, Aconcagua is the highest mountain outside of the Himalayas. Aconcagua is not a technical mountain, but it's absolutely a mountaineering expedition. Personally, for me, I actually think it's harder than Denali, the highest mountain in North America. So if you are considering going to Aconcagua, you should certainly think about doing another mountain beforehand. And you certainly need to have used an ice axe and crampons before, and you definitely want to train really hard. We spend 4 days trekking to base camp, and during that period we have 3 nights at a camp called Confluencia. From here we do a number of acclimatization walks before the long walk to Plaza de Mulas, which is base camp. Base camp itself is incredibly comfortable. We have a big mess tent there, excellent food provided by the chef. In some ways you could argue that it's almost too comfortable in base camp, because above base camp, on the mountain itself, conditions can be incredibly tough. The way we climb the mountain is we do a number of acclimatization ascents from base camp. So we carry some small loads up to Camp 1 at Canada Place and drop those loads off and come back down and sleep in base camp. And then a couple of days later, we go all the way up to Camp 2 to Nido de Condores, where we drop off some more loads. When we go for our summit push from base camp, we head up to Camp 1, and then the following day we climb to Camp 2, and we have a couple of nights there. During this period you're carrying all of your own personal gear, so you probably have about 15 kilograms on your back in your rucksack. Sometimes team members use a porter to split some of their personal gear and assist with them carrying it up to Camp 3. When we arrived at Nido de Condores, which is Camp 2 on the mountain, the weather started to deteriorate quite quickly, and it became very, very windy and started snowing. So we were putting the tents up in really quite difficult conditions. So you need to be prepared for, working together with your teammates, putting a tent up, obviously making sure you keep hold of it. You've got quite thick gloves on. Those sorts of things, do make it quite challenging.
So this is officially a New Year's Eve storm on Aconcagua at Camp 2, 5,500 metres. So we've had amazing weather for the last 2 weeks, so at some point it was going to happen. And sure enough, when we arrived at Camp 2 today, the wind picked up and it started snowing, and now it's actually snowing quite heavily.
The night after our team had gone to the summit, the weather at Camp 3 really took a turn for the worse, and it became increasingly windy through the night. As sort of morning came around, it became clear that we had to descend, really as quickly as possible. Other tents that were in Camp 3 were just getting completely trashed, and certainly some of the fly sheets on our tent were pretty much torn to shreds. And our team did brilliantly, getting the tents down, getting themselves organised and descending back down the mountain to base camp. From our team we had 5 people who reached the summit. That included one person who climbed Everest before, included somebody else who'd been to Bolivia and climbed Illimani, which is a big peak in the Cordillera Real. But it also included a couple of people who'd actually not done that much mountaineering before, but they were very well prepared and really determined to get to the top. I think it's fair to say that those people who got to the top found it really difficult. However, whilst they'd found it an incredibly tough day, they all described it as one of the most memorable and challenging days they'd had in the big mountains.